All right, it's time for Yogi and the BeachMan. Hi, I'm Jim the Yogi.
And I'm Rick Beach the BeachMan.
We're two Michigan transplants now living in Southwest Florida.
In fact, we're cousins born in 1964, just a month apart.
I like to meditate.
And I like to play bass in a band.
I'm into chanting Om.
And I'm into throwing down some classic rock.
But together, we're on a mission
to promote people that are helping other people.
We want to make the world a better place.
One conversation at a time.
So sit back,
turn up the volume,
and get ready to laugh.
Because we like to have fun
while we spread the love.
Interviewing lovely people. Yes, we have fun.
Totally 100% stripped.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Time for new mic stand.
This is like $120 mic stand. That's why it's lasted me 10 or 12 years.
What you need it. Can't live without it. So what's new, man? It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to be podcasting with you.
How was your trip?
Oh, man. I actually think it was one of my most favorite vacations of all time.
Really?
Yeah. Why aren't we recording here?
What'd you do?
Well, just the island's really small. They don't allow cars. You got to bike everywhere or rent a golf cart. But we're like, we're going to rent a golf cart. We love to bike. We went snorkeling. We went scuba diving. We fed the tarpon. We fed the stingray. We saw seahorses, eels, manatee. Went to some great bars. Had a lot of great food. It was just
cool.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Took a week off. Got out of town. You didn't miss anything. I did warm up though. It's nice. Weather's been nice here.
I heard it was actually probably nicer here than it was where we're at. But we were in Caye Caulker, Belize. Little tiny island. You could literally ride your bike across it in 20 minutes from one side to the other.
Really?
Yeah.
If
you're hauling ass.
Megan's been talking. I went for a walk with Megan today, and she's talking about going to Iceland.
Interesting.
I said, just run an Airbnb and stay for 2 weeks, and you can drive similar to. I'm sure it's bigger than Belize, but
Caye Caulker, yeah, and Belize put together.
Well, that's cool.
What's her attraction to Iceland?
I don't know. She digs on it, and then she stumbled upon Norway too. So she's looking at Norway or Iceland for a couple of weeks.
Does she want to go see a Norwal?
I know what a Norwal is, but I don't know if it has any connection to Norway.
It seems like they should.
Is that where they're at?
I don't know.
That's the national bird of national whale.
Okay, I was gonna say bird.
National animal of Norway is the Norwal.
It should be. That's where they should have their primary residence. Wow. So what's new with you?
Not much. Band's picked up 3 or 4 really good gigs recently.
Yeah?
We're on the big stage at the Twisted Fork in Port Charlotte at Bike Night next Tuesday. And
that's so cool.
Got a 3-month deal there for Bike Night. And we have a gig warming up for a Tom Petty tribute band.
Nice.
But like 5 of our songs are Tom Petty songs. We should probably lay off those.
Probably move those to it.
But next Tuesday at Twisted Fork, we only have to do 2 short sets because it's open mic night.
Yeah.
And anybody can come and sing. And
that's so cool.
You know a couple of our songs.
Do I?
You can probably. Well, we can do Tom Petty next Tuesday.
Oh, like Running Down a Dream.
That's one of ours on our playlist.
Running Down a Dream.
Yeah, you could come and.
Whenever it comes to me.
We could let you come up and front the band for a song.
That'd be great.
That would be fun.
I would love to do that. Might have to.
Well, we're having a rehearsal on Monday to work on some new stuff.
Okay.
And then that would be cool. Yeah, I would just tell them that you would come up because we're only doing 2 45-minute sets, and then in the middle of it's like an hour of open mic.
Yeah.
With or without us. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but either way, it's going to be fun.
What percentage of the cut do I get?
You can throw whatever you want in the tip jar. No, so we got those 3 gigs at Twisted Fork, and then we picked up we're on the big stage at the Wing Fest in Punta Gorda.
Wing Fest, what's that?
It's just a festival where they bring in like 20 or 30
chicken wings.
Wings and bands and beer and just a party.
Okay.
Lashley Park, so that'll be fun.
I saw on my Facebook feed that there's a reggae festival coming soon somewhere.
I'm
Like to
not
check
sure.
that out.
Maybe up in Venice or something.
Oh, that far.
Well, that's not
This
that
isn't
far.
too far. Yeah.
I was up there today.
So, man, all kinds of things have been going on, and I know you're like always into the political world.
I'm on top of things.
You're on it.
I am. I try to be.
I've gotten bits and pieces here and there. I'm really excited about Mr. Kennedy trying to take our poisons on food. I heard he had a meeting with Monsanto Monday.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah, nothing.
Well, they were talking, he was talking about getting glyphosates, I think they're called,
Mm-hmm,
which I think is Roundup, is it not?
mm-hmm. That's the primary cancer-causing chemical in Roundup that's safe to drink. Yes.
Okay. And so, yeah, if they
Sarcasm. It's not safe to drink,
no,
people.
well, fluoride is, right? They've been putting that in the water for 50 years and toxic.
Water, and they give kids a shot at school. Here, have a shot of neurotoxin.
Neurotoxin. I don't
Yeah,
think they
why
give
not?
shots of.
You never got a shot of
Wait, you mean
fluoride
a
in
fluoride
school?
rinse? You mean not a shot? Not a injection.
No, yeah, like a shot glass.
Right.
Here.
No, for sure. I've had
Yeah.
the fluoride rinse of the neurotoxin.
Yeah.
They say it's been proven to reduce IQ and intelligence in everybody.
Well, I think that's that's a part of a mission of any country that wants to keep its people stupid enough to continue a corrupt two-party system and swindle all the people in the country.
We have it. That's true.
Yeah.
If you believe all taxes are theft, which I do. But how are we going to build the roads, Rick? But that's a different discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, having RFK get confirmed was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm optimistic. I got to tell you that I have a lot of hope. I don't have a lot. I guess I'm kind of optimistic, but at the same time, it's politics.
So you have a lot of hope, but not a lot of faith.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe if I was 20, I'd be like, oh, this is going to happen, but haven't been in this country for so long. You see things and ideas that formulate, and then you see people knock them down.
It's all total bullshit. But when Trump comes in, 20, 30 days ago today or whatever it was.
A little more than that.
No, I think it's right at a month.
On the 20th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
for some reason I was thinking it was the 6th, but that was...
No, that's January 6th.
Yeah.
That's the unarmed insurrection.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that too. I'm glad they pardoned every one of those guys. That was a total FBI setup.
Was it?
1,000%.
Crazy.
I will never not believe that. Along with Building 7, 9/11.
Oh, I got into Grok last night, and I was asking it about Building 7 because I think we did that on one of our podcasts.
Oh, we did.
But then we didn't pursue it with Grok because it didn't have a video character. So, but it was giving way more. Like it would talk about all the things that were questionable about it, unlike the Chat GPT that was like, oh, we can only give you the the actual version coming from the government. We can't say anything else.
Well,
basically,
I just saw again. I don't know. I went down a little rabbit hole on that last week.
Building 7,
and there was
or Grok.
No, 9/11.
Okay, yeah.
And there's a newscast from the BBC, which you could literally Google right now and find it on YouTube, unless it's been blocked. But you can find it. It is out there.
Yeah.
Of the BBC reading a news press release talking about Building 7 collapse, and it's still behind her in the video.
Yeah.
In 100,
she's reading about the collapse.
She's reading about the collapse 7 minutes before the actual collapse happened.
Okay.
There was also that big investigation. I think it was Dick Rumsfeld was the defense secretary at the time, or one of those warmongers. And there was an investigation going to go into on where did like $3 or $4 billion go from the Pentagon budget, or 300 billion, or who knows
that they lost.
It's mind-boggling. And all the records were, guess where those records were all kept?
Building 7.
They were. And the whole 7th floor is like the National Security Agency and the CIA, and they conveniently just lost all the records. But one thing did come out of the whole 9/11 thing: the durability. You just got back from Belize.
Yeah.
You had to show your passport twice, correct? Once going in, one coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, 3 times.
Do you think
I just
Is
go
it-
twice coming back.
is it really?
Yeah.
Why?
Once in Belize when we left the airport, and then again
Oh
in
yeah, to
Houston.
get on the plane to get out. Yeah,
Yeah, to get, and then when we got to Houston, we had to show it again.
through
which
customs
I
in
don't
Houston.
understand why.
But your passport, if it was in a complete build, first if it was in a plane crash and a fireball into a building, there's no doubt that after that building collapsed, they would find your passport in perfect condition on the street.
Yeah, they're indestructible.
They are indestructible. Or that was a Saudi passport. Is indestructible? I can't remember, but
Yeah, it was
there's
Saudi,
just so
one of
much.
the Saudi guys.
There's
is
just
what
so
you're
much
talking about.
bullshit on the whole 9/11 thing.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since I really got delved into it real deep. But there's one thing for certain: the entire government story is bullshit.
Yeah, it's missing a few pieces.
It's missing a lot of pieces.
Yeah. What was in the area that the Pentagon got hit by the missile was also a very an area that had a lot of information.
I have a friend that I was in the Navy with on the submarine, and we sat at the Celtic Ray one night about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he literally was on the 3rd ring or 4th ring inside the Pentagon, in the wing, in the side of the Pentagon that got hit. They had just reinforced, I guess, the first 2 or 3 outer rings.
Yeah.
And that's where the plane hit. I brought that up to him.
There was no plane parts.
He said he physically saw them.
Okay.
I have not seen any video
Yeah.
of this. And, you know, there might be, I'm sure there's a word for it, but maybe mass psychosis or something that, hey, you were told that that was a plane and there was, but I've never seen any evidence of a plane outside the Pentagon.
Right.
But anyway.
Has there ever been a plane crash with no debris?
The one in Pennsylvania, I think.
They had no debris?
I don't think so.
I thought there was a debris.
Tiny
field.
pieces.
Yeah.
But they didn't find anything of substance there. It pretty much disintegrated.
Weird.
Or got shot down.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not as well versed on that stuff.
Yeah.
That's 20-year-old.
Yeah.
But one thing's for certain, it got used to start us into a 20-year war, of which was the whole goal of that by the warmongers of the Bush administration.
Well, I think there's multiple goals. One was Iraq and the overthrow of Saddam Hussein.
Well, yeah.
Because he tried to assassinate Bush's father.
Well, there was some bad blood there. Yeah, well, they definitely used the weapons of mass destruction. It was just lies. It was just all lies, and it's not even up for debate anymore. Just
right. Yeah, everybody knows it's a lie. I thought the saddest moment, I always like Colin Powell, but I thought the saddest moment in my life was watching him on TV explain the evidence they had of weapons of mass destruction to the public.
He sold his soul that day.
He
in the
sold
United
his
Nations.
soul.
He sold that. He
and you
sold
could
his
see
soul
it.
that day.
It was so apparent on his face, and it was just sad.
And he lied, and he assisted
lied.
in lying us into. I mean, 1 million Iraqis being dead. How many Afghanis? Not to mention our.
And the Iraqis that they did round up, they gave them all injections to sterilize them. It's like, what the F?
I've never once heard that.
Yeah, it's documented. It's pretty sad because they didn't use our army; they used a private army, Blackwater or whatever. So they were allowed to get away with war crimes by using a private army instead of our own army.
Well, we've been using contractors over there forever, and the military guys like it because they're making their 40 grand a year. Basic poverty wages as the E1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And you got these contractors, living large, growing their hair long, making 300 grand a year, 300 grand a month. Who knows what they make? All I know is they make a lot.
Yeah.
And they don't have to play by any of the rules.
Nope.
I need to verify that story though. I've never heard about sterilizations of.
There was a movie that was out that was it called Blackwater Speaks? I can't. No, that was Black Elk Speaks. I forget the name of the movie, but I watched it. It talked about all the stuff that the private armies did in Iraq and what they got away with. It was pretty atrocious.
Well, what do you think about what's going on now?
I'm hearing bits and pieces. I'm hearing stuff on one side. I'm hearing stuff from the other side. So, like my more liberal friends are very upset with the Doge team and what they're hearing that they're allowed to do.
Why? What would those be?
From what I'm hearing is they're very upset about them being able to look at the records and download stuff, or, they're afraid that this might get misused, that information might get misused.
By the guy. So they're thinking Elon Musk might take this information to steal people's like tax information or social security numbers or identity theft problems with the Doge team. Is that it?
Apparently.
No, I've
or
heard that same thing.
yeah, or records could disappear, or who knows? Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
And I would say, first of all, the guy's the richest guy in the world. I'm not worried about him stealing my tax return. Number one. Number two, heck, there was a much better point I was going with that. Yeah, he doesn't need the money.
Oh, and the way, okay, there was another, actually, my father-in-law brought this up. He said, it's good to cut out waste, but sometimes the way you do it isn't always the best way. Like just to put the brakes on everything. So I guess there was food in trucks that were going to certain countries through U.S. aid or whatever.
Which stands for.
I don't even know
what the acronym you would think that U.S. aid stands for exactly that, aiding other countries, but it doesn't. It's the Agency for International Development. It has nothing to do with aid. It is a front group for the CIA to basically get there to buy political influence around the world and allow corruption in other countries to occur. That's my interpretation as not one of your liberal associates or people that you know.
So anyway, the complaint was, here's food that's needed by people that are needing food that is sitting in the truck rotting now because the people have all been fired and it's not being transported. Things like that. But so there's the things. But
of course, nobody wants to
talk about some of the cooler things.
Well,
go ahead.
But you mentioned earlier, they're worried about this Doge team, with identity theft or stealing personal information. This guy ran PayPal, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of users on PayPal, which those people maybe
trusted him.
I'm one of them that has used PayPal and given him my social security number or whatever I need to do to get a PayPal account.
Yeah.
So I trusted him then. He doesn't want my money. And frankly, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I just don't, because they're slashing and burning these. They've been stealing our money in a cesspool of corruption forever. And to see this amount of dollars just evaporate out of thin air to go to groups that use that money to propagandize us.
Yeah.
Went to the news media, NPR. Super liberal left wing. If they don't toe the political line of the left wing, they get threatened to be defunded by Congress. Although they don't, because they just get paid to spew that line. Same with ABC, CBS, NBC. Now Fox is their own thing, but they take their fair share of blood money from Pfizer, and you just get the opposite side of the same bullshit.
Yeah.
You certainly can't believe MSNBC or CNN.
No.
Or
Fox.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You just
Any of them.
Just realize you're getting propagandized.
Right.
If you see a Pfizer commercial during whatever news you're watching, it's propaganda. That's how I always look at it. So I get zero of my news from them. I watch it for their pure entertainment value.
You know what's interesting though, because you got me to go to, and I downloaded X and I started looking through X, but I find that it's very similar in an annoying way as other news feeds, because I'm just getting a bunch of bullshit in it. There's just so much bullshit on X, just like opinionated stuff and bashing, just a ton of bashing. There's just bashing from the other side, and I wish that, I know the idea is not to censor the stuff, but I don't want to go on to a feed and just read about people bashing people and, yeah, sure, tell me. I wish there was a source of information that didn't have bashing and opinions and blah, blah, blah. Just give me the straight up facts, but I don't find that there. I don't know how you find it there.
I don't really get my news from X. I get my news from independent news media.
Oh, you told me before you were getting it from X.
Well, no, I do. I get a lot of it there, but I follow those independent news media sources. People that just take the news, or I will watch the direct feeds. Like if I see a news snip of a press conference that's on MSNBC, and it's Donald Trump talking about something, and then they take and twist it to be something terrible, but then you have to go right back to the if you go back and watch the press conference or the speech in its entirety or in context, it's nothing like what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Charlottesville, they're all good people on both sides. Well, if you listen to the whole 2 minutes of that, it doesn't sound so racist anymore. So when CBS and 60 Minutes, the most 60 Minutes growing up, I remember Grandma and Grandpa, at least on my side, Grandma and Grandpa Beach, they couldn't wait for 60 Minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had Dan Rather, you know, and Walter Cronkite sometimes. And these guys, I don't think Walter Cronkite was on 60 Minutes, but you know, these guys were the news media. You trusted Walter. I mean, he was there when the moon landing happened. You know, you watched it when the Vietnam War. And
Wait, did the moon landing happen?
I'll be happy to let's come back to that.
I'm starting to wonder now.
But now you can't believe any of it. Just
Right.
absolutely
No.
none of it.
No, because it's all owned by corporations that have their and
they all have their agendas.
And they just want to do what they want to do and sway the masses through these media outlets that they own.
I listen to a ton of podcasts. I like Dave Smith. He's high up in the libertarian movement. I've been listening to him for years. I really like he's a comedian, you know. So you get your news from a comedian. Well, I've listened to this guy debate on a multitude of topics and destroy everybody with the libertarian economics and
wasn't Zelensky a comedian?
Yeah, but I think he still is. He's an unelected dictator. No, he is. They canceled their elections in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm not going to have a.
But he was before all that though, wasn't?
Yeah, he was a TV star, but comedian. But
yeah, comedians become world leaders, man.
I think
Trump was a TV star. Reagan was a TV star.
True.
Yeah.
Hillary. She was just a drug smuggler from Arkansas. Well, all that stuff, Barry Seal
was married to a pedophile husband.
Is married.
Still married to a pedophile husband.
The Epstein files are supposed to be popping out. Well, Kash Patel's the vote for the FBI director, I think, is today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if Kash Patel gets in there, he has vowed he's going to release the list.
Wow.
So Bill Clinton has got to be just crapping his pants because he was on that plane a lot.
Yeah, he was.
I mean,
probably on the island too.
What the plane to and fro.
Well, it didn't always. I mean, sometimes it just went up into international airspace where nothing's illegal, right?
I'm not sure. I don't think you can go up there and murder people you can't kill someone on a Boeing flight just because you're off the coast of Iceland in the middle of the Atlantic.
Yeah. But did you hear what came up about Greenland? Did you hear?
Yeah, Trump wants to buy it.
No, before that, well, something about that, but we secretly built a military base there without telling Greenland. Were you aware of that?
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, apparently we built an underground military base there without ever asking the country or getting permission.
I haven't heard this. Are you positive this has occurred, or you just this
I've
stuff that you heard?
I'm not positive of anything in this world anymore.
No. Well, let's Google that. Let's see.
Yeah.
Secret military base in Greenland.
Yeah. So apparently, where was I hearing about this? I think it was on a podcast with somebody very credible. I don't remember who it was. I'm not always good at remembering details. But he's like talking about how, Greenland's like, what the hell? You guys built a military base and never told us?
The dark truth inside the secret U.S. military base hidden 100 feet beneath Greenland.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I suppose President.
Why don't people like Americans? We're so honest. We're so giving. We do so much for the world.
I think the American people are that and want to be that.
Yeah.
But the American government is not representative of those values.
Yeah. That's, one of the things I really liked about Belize, and I can't talk for the whole country, but on this little island, Caye Caulker, that I was on, there was more diversity on that island than anywhere I've ever been. There was, people that live there from all over the world. And everybody's just cool. Everybody's just nice. I never felt unsafe in any part of that island or around anybody there. And everybody's just got a cool vibe, It's like
I try to have
People
a
are
cool.
generally, I think, really nice. I
I
think it's just
agree.
our politicians that are.
I think most people are Most people are good people.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for people who carry that opposite feeling.
Yeah.
There are some people that think
they do.
everybody most people are
Are
bad.
bad. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think if you carry that
That's
negativity, that's a hard
harmful.
burden.
Oh, I didn't look what else happened in Belize.
Would you get a tattoo?
I got 60 years old. I got my first tattoo.
Let me see. Is that real or is it one of those
That's
henna
real, man.
tattoos?
That's totally real.
And it's is that the yoga sign thing, right?
It's an ohm symbol.
That's what I thought, but I thought it was upside down or something.
No.
I'm not familiar with that, as familiar as
Oh.
you.
Yeah.
But that's very cool.
Yeah. I like it.
What's that cost in Belize dollars?
I think 200. I got to check my receipt, which is $100 here.
Oh, well, that's not bad.
No, it's not even bad if it was $200.
I don't know. I've never got a tattoo.
I got my first, so. Which I was gonna get I've wanted for years a stork delivering a baby because I was doing labor and delivery, and then I find out after I got this and talking to my in-laws and my wife that they were all against that. Even Abby was like, "Oh God, I hope he doesn't get a stork with a tattoo." A stork carrying a baby tattoo.
Huh.
Oh, hey, she's happy with this. I'm happy with it. So
No, it's cool looking.
thank you. So,
But getting back to the 60 Minutes thing, we were talking about that. This past week, they were over in Germany talking about their free speech laws. And you were like, if I insult you on the internet,
yeah,
you can literally turn me in and they will come to my house and arrest me.
I saw that somewhere where that was happening, but I thought it was in Germany. I thought it was in England.
No, well, that's happening there too, to a lesser extent. But
yeah,
but in in England, it's really on bashing. If you say anything bad about an illegal immigrant or a migrant, I don't know what their term is over there.
yeah,
But they've basically changed their entire culture. There's some towns in Scotland where there's more people not speaking Scottish or whatever their lingo is, or their what would that be, their dialect, I guess. There's a lot more people over there now that don't speak the language than is, and that there's like one or two Scottish girls in their fourth grade class, and all the rest are
immigrants.
like Eastern Europeans and Africans, and they're just basically destroying the culture of the town, of the city, of the state, and they're doing that to their own selves. But in Germany, they've taken a step further. If you insult somebody, they will literally take you to jail for insulting. It's illegal to be insulting.
Wow.
Like if I insult you,
can you imagine that here?
It's worse if you're and the CBS.
Who owns the prisons there? Because that's
Man,
what I'd want to know. Because who's getting rich off of that?
Well, you have the 60 Minutes reporter saying that free speech was the reason. The same reporter, CBS reporter, was talking to Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, last week. And says, "Hey, with all this, they were talking about this Germany censorship and craziness." And she says, "Well, free speech led to the Holocaust in the 40s and the rise of Hitler." And Rubio was like, "What are you talking about? It was a total dictatorship. But Joseph Goebbels was the a minister of propaganda." They literally, CBS now has literally become an arm of the Democratic Party and their talking points and how they can basically.
Who owns CBS?
Probably BlackRock, since they own everything else. BlackRock, Vanguard, and the Third State Street, the three big places where you and I have our retirement money and support this shit. The people that are working evil against us.
Yeah.
But yeah, to just think that free speech was the reason for the Holocaust, like CBS was putting out there, and Marco Rubio just crucified her. Said, "Come on, really get a life."
Yeah.
It was the exact opposite. If you don't have free speech, free speech isn't there to protect what you want to hear. It's to protect the stuff that you don't want to hear, and the bad stuff, and the hate speech, and the whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm a 100% free speech, First Amendment absolutist, and the Second Amendment's there to make sure the first one works.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, like I said, they won't let us have nuclear missiles.
We don't.
I don't
What would we need
understand.
that for?
Well, if you got to protect yourself from a country that has nuclear missiles because they're taking away your free speech, how are you going to fight them?
First of all,
I'm being
nobody,
facetious, and you know
right,
that.
taking away our free speech. Well, you should think of a little better analogy. It's not like
Why?
Germany's going to start launching nukes over here. They're not.
I'm more worried about our own country. You never
Well,
know.
if the nukes start flying, it's all over anyway.
That's so true.
But I do think it's really exciting to be. It's a great time in history because you have all this stuff that the Republican Party's been saying we're going to do. Well, there was a. You can watch Bill Clinton and Al Gore in when was this? 88 or whatever. With their tractor and their forklifts, and Al Gore pointing over to it saying, "That's all fraud. We're going to do something about it. We're going to reduce the government by 12%, blah, blah, blah." None of it ever happened. And that was after Reagan came in, small government. None of it ever happened. Republicans never reduce the size of government. Democrats never reduce the size of government. Government just grows and sucks the life out of the regular working stiff, you and me.
And so does the
every day.
deficit. Except for Clinton, every president since then has raised the deficit, and now it's insane.
It is. I mean, we're literally $1 trillion every 3 months of negative. The payment on the debt service, interest, is more than the defense budget. And our defense budget is more than the entire, like, China, Russia, Canada,
all the other countries put together
combined,
Yeah.
the European Union.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the amount of money is just blows your mind. It's staggering.
But if you want to see a cool speech
Yeah.
to kind of put a handle on this whole free speech thing, last week J.D. Vance gave a speech in the European Union and basically chastised them to their faces, looking them in the eyes about the dangers of what you're doing and cracking down on freedom and free speech, and that the United States is not going to be a part of this. If you're not going to allow freedom and free speech in your country, then you truly are not a democracy.
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether it's hate speech or divisive or misinformation or not, because today's misinformation is tomorrow's facts. See Dr. Fauci if you don't believe me.
Right.
And the whole COVID bullshit, the whole Building 7 bullshit, the whole.
Hey, well, Grok said that Fauci was, doing his best with the information he had.
Doing his best to cover it up and lie and have private email servers, not private email, but
Yeah.
corresponding with other co-conspirators. But
how can they
not through government official emails addressed so they can be deleted? Instructing their head of their Freedom of Information Act clerks to not comply with FOIA requests.
And just a week or so ago, they canceled Trump canceled his
security
Secret Service security detail. Why is our country paying for his Secret Service? How rich is this guy?
Well, he was the highest paid guy in the government, the highest salaried employee in the United States government at 400 and some grand a year. The guy's worth millions. He should pay for his own
everything.
He should pay for his own security.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with him ripping security. I have no problem with anything Trump's doing. I think he should just slash and burn the whole place.
I just don't understand why Fauci hasn't been, they have apparently no evidence on him to convict him of anything. How's this guy still walking the streets?
It's been 30 days since Pam Bondi's been the attorney general. It hasn't even been that. It's been 2 weeks since Pam Bondi's been sworn in as attorney general.
Yeah.
That's like a second in legal years.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
nanosecond.
We have to, hopefully it's going to come down, and RFK Jr. running HHS will have an assistance in making that happen.
Did I ask you before the podcast or during the podcast? Because I saw him, like one of his posts on X showing him in front of Monsanto, and the headline was, "Guess who I have a meeting with on Monday?" But I haven't seen anything else about this meeting.
I haven't. Well, Monday was yesterday. I really keep my news I'm like always 1 or 2 days behind the news cycle, because the podcast I listen to, and they're talking about today, they're talking about yesterday's news and the weekend, and then I get it tomorrow.
Gotcha.
And so unless I do flip on the TV and watch corporate news, I I'm always a day behind.
Yeah.
So if the nuclear war starts, I won't know till the next
Till you
day.
see the mushroom cloud.
Well, tomorrow. They, I think we'd be okay down here in South Florida, but you know, Tampa's going to get whacked.
You never know.
Key West will get whacked.
Hopefully the wind's blowing the right way.
Well, no, we're all screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But you said something about the moon landing earlier. I'm becoming more and more convinced.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I'm really thinking it might be bullshit. I really do.
And why?
I watched a movie a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a good movie.
Yeah.
But it was total fiction. But it was about how they, basically had an alternate. They had a backup plan sound studio at NASA.
I saw the trailers for that.
And it was a good
Yeah.
movie, and it was entertaining. I certainly didn't take it as fact.
Yeah.
But then I started looking around, and Stanley Kubrick swore on his deathbed that he did it all.
Yeah.
And hey, if anybody could pull off those effects, it was probably him. But there's so many. I mean, I don't want to really sound like that wacky guy because I'm wacky enough.
Which wacky guy?
I mean, the moon landing conspirators. But,
I don't know who those are. But you were trying to get Flat Earth Dave on our show, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I don't think I'm going to be successful at that.
No, why? He reached out to us.
No, after I reached out to him.
Yeah.
And then I just said, "Hey, Dave, I'm kind of interested in your theories and stuff." And then I got kind of ghosted after that.
Oh, okay.
So I think he wants someone of more of a welcoming.
A pro man. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It might. But if you watch some Flat Earth Dave stuff, it's kind of compelling also. I don't know if I buy that though.
Yeah. I have a hard time buying it too, but my biggest question would be, why would there be this worldwide conspiracy of a round Earth? I mean, what benefit is that if the Earth is flat?
Yeah, where's the motive?
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense.
That's what you'd have to ask Flat Earth Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a motive of saying, yeah, we made it first to the moon, but
But if that was all propaganda, so then the Soviets would have also had to have the same.
They probably borrowed our studio.
No, they would have. Did the Soviets ever go to the moon?
I believe so. After we did, they were first in space, right?
They were.
Yeah, first with the monkey.
With Sputnik and the monkeys, and then Yuri Gagarin, and then we made it to the moon first.
We think.
I think. Well.
So they say.
But then there was a. Well, no one else claimed it.
Do you remember way back in our beginning podcast when I would say, I don't believe anything. I believe everything is a possibility. I almost feel like you're coming more around to that. That you can't believe anything, but you can believe that everything is a possibility.
No, I disagree. Because it's such an abstract way, and it just allows you to just cover all the bases with that term. Oh, it's a possibility.
It is a possibility.
But you're right, it's possible. Mm-hmm. But and then I think I came back with that, and you said, "Well, how do you know that this is true? Because it could be this." Because I saw it with my eyes, and if we talked earlier.
Have you ever seen David Copperfield?
Yeah, I saw him, but I'm well aware that that's illusionary, and I'm very open to the fact, and I'm 100% positive that I've had my share of propaganda thrown at me, and I've been propagandized, as have all of us.
Yeah.
And when I realized that in a certain aspect where I have been propagandized, then I just make myself aware of it and immune myself for the next time around. But you have to just go to the sources.
Yeah.
So if you want the truth, you have to go to the source, because you can't believe what I think you were saying is that it's a more of a, that you think and I would agree that most people get their news and information through other people's opinionated sources.
Mm-hmm.
That is becoming less and less. The corporate media is dying.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take any any podcast that gets 40 or 50,000 listeners a week, and when you see someone like Joe Rogan who gets tens of millions, that is a factor of hundreds of CNN's audience.
Yeah.
So Joe Rogan's for a 3-hour long form conversation with some nerdy scientist who wants to talk about Area 51 or.
Have you listened to the Stephen Greer one yet?
I listened to most of it. I
Did
think.
you? Okay.
And but when you have a guy like Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
who literally started off in his basement in 2013, I saw a little clip of that today.
I watched that first podcast with him. And
Yeah,
his brother.
they're like in the basement. This guy worked his ass off.
Yeah.
He got his $70 million contract from Spotify. But I tell you what, I've been listening to Joe Rogan probably for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with him politically at the time, but since then we have merged. He's come around. He's been red-pilled. He knows that he's been lied to about 9/11, possibly the moon landing, the Gulf War. I mean, these people can't be trusted. So you have to go to people who have never lied to you.
Yeah.
And every major news, every corporate media has done that to me. So I will never trust them again.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you on that. What was I thinking? Just a second ago, you mentioned something that made me think of something. Went in and out really quick. I don't know. So.
I saw something really funny that the unemployment rate in Washington, D.C. is now hit 38%. Unemployment claims in D.C. has like skyrocketed in the last couple of weeks.
Is that because of Trump laying off the federal government
yes.
employees?
And houses, there's like 2,200 houses for sale in that direct area a month ago. Now there's like 7,000. I mean, there's a mass exodus. Google searches, the number one, offshore bank accounts. Number two, criminal defense attorneys. Number three, statute of limitations. I mean, it's just.
Actually, I looked the other day and it was
the criminality.
That Google Tracker or whatever it is, and the top search was that plane that flipped upside down in Canada.
Oh, did you see the video?
No.
I watched not only the video, I watched that, but then a complete 10-minute pilot diagnostics of what happened while the video on.
Yeah.
And I think it was just unfortunate.
Yeah. The freak accident.
That plane, because it has the engines on the tail instead of the wings under the wings, it had a much lower center of gravity, and much less clearance between the wings and the ground.
Yeah.
Than like a DC-9 or 10 or whatever with the engines on the wings. So as it was coming down, there was 40 to 50 mile an hour gust crosswinds. It was like 25 gusting to 38.
Yeah.
And so these planes have to land kind of crab walking in sideways to fly against the wind.
Right.
And then when it hit, they think it was just a downdraft, a microburst that just shot the plane down. Now, this is all super preliminary. That you have to wait for the investigation and see what the pilots did and everything. But that microburst just pushed it down into that wing caught, and then it ripped off. Thank God that the fireball stayed behind the plane.
That's so cool?
Not one person died.
I know, it's amazing.
So if you're going to be in a plane crash, man, that's the one to be in.
Right?
Upside down.
Has that ever happened? Plane crash where everybody lived?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it has, but but it's crazy that there's been. And then Rachel Maddow come out and it's all Trump's fault. But even though it happened in Canadian airspace, on a Canadian flight, under Canadian air traffic control.
But even to think with the number of people that have high blood pressure, the number of people that could have got a stroke or a heart attack, and none of that happened. I mean, it's just a miracle that nobody died in that plane.
Yeah, I guess there's 1 or 2 people in critical condition, so it's important to keep those people in our prayers. But but it's just amazing.
We saw that when we were in Houston about to board the plane.
Man, it always sucks when you got to fly like after there's a rash of plane crashes.
Yeah.
But
the odds are just more in your favor.
Air travel's the safest way.
It is. Yeah, it's just
no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's just more in your favor if it wasn't you. So.
But I was happy to see. I'm just happy to see this entire slash and burn of the federal government and laying off these people. You know where they're going next, right?
I heard the Pentagon.
I think they might already be looking at that. And you know, they got these army of nerds,
Yeah.
like these 18, 19 high school dropouts with like 180 IQs
Really?
that could go get a
This
PhD
is the
from
Doge
MIT.
team?
The Doge team, they're all like super savants of, they're like Elon Musk clones or something. Maybe
Yeah.
they are clones, but it's just,
His kids from another lady?
I don't know, man. He's got plenty of kids, but I guess he takes care of them all. And they say
Yeah.
he's a good dad.
Well, that's good.
He had his kid in the White House.
Oh, really?
Did you? Oh, you didn't.
Oh, he didn't have his baby in the White House. You mean he took his child to the White House?
He took it. His like 4-year-old son was standing there next to him during the whole 2 hour.
Okay.
You were out of town during the the Trump Elon Musk news conference,
Yeah.
and they were just talking about the Doge team, but they're going to Fort Knox.
Oh, I did see some. Just started to flip through these feed a little bit, and they're trying to figure out what happened to some missing gold.
Well, who knows what's going on with that? But that's just a rabbit hole that is just fun to get into. Where is
I
the
think
gold?
you gotta look for Bush and Cheney. Look back to the Bush and Cheney era. Find that gold.
Well, heck, they were flying pallets of $100. I've talked to guys personally
Yeah.
who were like have seen pallets of $100 bills over in Baghdad just handing out to them. But this whole Fort Knox thing, it's there's some implications to that. And they're also talking about putting Ron Paul, who is my political hero,
Mm-hmm.
in charge of auditing the Federal Reserve. So we'll see how that goes. But how can the left and the liberals
Because of what they're being fed.
be against they don't have a good place to any good footing on this.
Well, I see it for two reasons. One, that the narrative that they've been told, I mean, Democratic Party is the best thing we've ever had.
But
And
now they're
let
the
me
war
finish.
party, though.
Oh, let me finish. I agree with you.
Okay.
Let me finish. Is that what they're getting spun by CNN, MSNBC, NPR is all the terrible repercussions of these federal cuts and how awful it is for a few people. And they make it sound like it's a ginormous issue.
Okay.
So that's really in my mind, what it boils down to, and that there's a lot of fear mongering around
And if
it.
we were flush with money as a country and everything was good and the economy was growing at 4% a year and we had 1% inflation and I was making the same money I made 2 years ago, I'd be all fine with that too. But unfortunately, none of that is the case.
Sure.
Everything is worse today than 4 years ago. The economy's worse. The military's worse.
I don't buy that the economy is worse. When I
Really?
drive around and I see so much building and construction, and I don't see like remember in 2000.
But what you're saying built, Jim, is multi-level cracker boxes. You're seeing hundreds of thousands of apartments and condos, but really they're not private. They're all rental units. Like if you go up to Northport, you'll see right at Toledo Blade there, they're building 4,000 or 5,000 units of apartments.
Well, I agree that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. There's no doubt about that. But, when the economy's bad, you don't see a lot of construction. Every bad economy that I've lived through, construction comes to a crawl.
Well, there's no doubt new home construction has probably went down a bit.
I mean, look around this neighborhood. Every wooded lot in this neighborhood is slowly getting tore down and a house is going up.
You're right about that. And I'm worried about that. I'm worried about a 2008 happening again. But also Florida, where we live, is somewhat insulated from other parts of the country because, you got someone who worked up north for 40, 30, 40, 50 years, saved up all their money, sells their house for $300,000-400,000, can come down here and buy a really nice house for a couple $100,000 and retire in the sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
So people are constantly bringing their retirement money here. So we are fortunate that we have that wealth and income down here.
Mm-hmm.
Other parts of the country, not so much. And GDP is the lowest in unless there's no doubt that the economy slowed down after COVID and
yeah, I mean, obviously that put a big bump into everything, and especially the supply chain and everything else.
But that was all by design.
Yeah, but now it feels like everything has bounced back.
I don't see it, man. I don't see it, and I'm in people's houses every day, talking to them, and then, man, I really can't afford it now. I don't want to make this decision right now. And the stuff I sell, some of it's, kind of on the low end, 3, 4,000, 5,000 bucks, and some is on the high end at 34,000, 30, 40,000 bucks for. So now, the wealthier areas, like my company, also has a presence down in Naples, one of the highest per capita incomes in the United States. And Dustin's doing just fine down there. But you come into Charlotte County, where last year in January and February I had 145 leads to work, and this year I had less than 30.
Whoa. Yeah.
When my
that's rough.
income is 50% of it was, I took a 50% pay cut from 23 to 24.
But you also mentioned issues with your company and their marketing. And
Well, no, not so much that. The reason for that on this end is that from Hurricane Ian in 2022, a lot of my stuff got front loaded. So I sold stuff that I should have just been plodding along and making monthly.
And you got it all at once.
I got it all at once.
Yeah.
And that faucet's over. So that's the pros and cons of a hurricane.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get a big boost, but
yeah. But everywhere I go, and I've been traveling for the last couple of years, no one's complaining about the economy. What people are complaining about is just how expensive housing is. People are making money, they have jobs, they're still traveling, they're still doing this and that. Just housing is getting out of hand.
Housing's insane.
Insane.
I mean, if you're 30 years old and you don't own a house, it's going to be hard for you to buy one because a house that'll cost you 400 grand a day was 180 grand 7 years ago. And that's the difference between a $1,500 payment and a $4,000 a month payment. It surprises me that you said that you don't hear anyone saying that. When eggs are $7 or $8 a dozen. And I was in there today. I was in the store today. I get my eggs on the black market.
People are buying them.
I get my eggs on the black market because
we went to Sprouts the other day. They were sold out eggs.
That's because of the next Iraq war, COVID, bird flu conspiracy coming down. They've killed the Biden administration killed like over 1 million chickens in the last 6 months. From a couple of birds having bird flu, avian flu, which is mainly transported by geese and ducks. And guess what the difference is between a geese, a duck, and a chicken? 2 of those fly. One doesn't. But that's the reason why there's an egg shortage, because they've killed millions of birds due to the avian flu. That's all stopped now, thank goodness.
Sounds like a good decision to me.
Yeah, but I get my eggs on the black market from my sign guy.
Yeah, I know. So I'm wondering if you've been watching like Monsanto stock. Is it plummeting?
I have not.
Kellogg stock. Is it plummeting?
It should. I hope it does.
These food companies, Nabisco or whoever's, there's like 4 major food companies in this country that puts out like 80% of our food or 90% of our food. Is their stock plummeting? Because if with all these threats of, taking the poisons out of the food, making them do the right thing.
Why don't they just, I don't get the motivation there.
Of what?
I don't get why it's better for them to poison us with red dye number 2 and all these.
Probably cheaper.
But I guess they are that evil.
Financially motivated.
I guess they are just that evil.
They don't think of it as evil. See, that's the, I'm not bashing capitalism, but that's part of the problem with it. When all your decisions are based on making your stockholders happy,
but that's
growing the stock, that's when bad decisions.
But isn't that the responsibility of every board of directors? To make their ethical and fiduciary responsibility is to, their only job is to keep their stock price up.
Yeah.
And their responsibility to make money for their investors. And I guess, if you have to do that unscrupulously and evilly, but it's still legal.
That's what's happened.
Then I guess that you just, it all comes back around to just being educated.
Right. And that comes back around to the fluoride. If you make people stupid.
Yeah.
If you don't educate them and make them stupid, then
but now
you can breeze through.
We started with fluoride, we'll end with it. But they did come out and say, hey, man, let's just stop this craziness.
Yeah.
So now they're taking the first thing I did when I moved to Charlotte County
Mhm.
was the very first, I swear to God, this is true. I moved here in 1998.
Mhm.
First thing I did was go, I can't remember if I was at the Secretary of State or City Hall or DMV or something. I went to the water quality report.
Mhm.
And I found out that Charlotte County did not put fluoride in their water. I'm like, okay, good. I don't have to buy bottled water. I don't have to cook with bottled water. I don't have to try to
Yeah.
make myself immune from fluoride because they don't do it here, thank
Mhm.
goodness. But it's to put that, it's over. It's just over. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the next few months are going to hold and see what happens. It's a great time to be alive as far as history goes. I think this is similar to when the Berlin Wall came down in 1989.
I hope you're right. You know, it's but there's a lot of money and there's a lot of interests that don't want those changes.
And you got
And
Trump and
Mhm.
Elon saying they just don't give a shit.
I'm glad.
It's about time you had someone with some balls
Mhm.
to go in there and just do this and not care. Trump does not care. He
Mhm.
does not need our money. He's plenty rich.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're going to say, why would he want to be president? I don't know. If I was him, I wouldn't want to be president
Right.
and do this. I'd be golfing every day. So I don't see any evil motivation of Donald Trump.
Mhm. I am glad that he's working on ending the wars.
Oh, please. And then you got Vladimir Zelensky and the European Union saying that they will need to be involved in these talks. Why?
Mhm.
They're not paying for it.
Yeah.
I'm out. Let's just stop killing people and stop. The Ukraine is the most corrupt, one of the most corrupt countries on the entire planet, and we've been pumping billions in there for 4 years or 3 years now. Vladimir Zelensky himself says of the $170 billion we sent over there, they can only account for less than 80.
Where'd it go?
Where did it go?
Between that money being lost, the Pentagon money being lost, where's all this money?
It all
Where are all
comes
these
back.
billions of dollars
It's a
going?
big circle jerk, Jim.
It is.
You send it to Ukraine, it never really leaves the country. It goes to Raytheon and
Mhm.
Boeing
Mhm.
and all the big defense industries,
Mhm.
which then goes back. Then they get these multi-billion-dollar contracts. Oh, we can send a couple billion or millions to these politicians and grease both sides of the skids, the left and the right, and they buy every politician, and then you end up with what we have.
Mhm. You know what's interesting is that when this country gets upset about wars and we're going to protest, blah blah blah, we go to the White House. Why don't we go in front of the defense companies and say no more bombs,
Because it
no
doesn't
more missiles?
matter. Because
I'm
they don't
just
care. They're
they,
going to get paid either way.
I'm just saying that we never think to look at these corporations and the people making this stuff and say, why don't you guys stop? Why don't you guys just stop doing it?
Well, because they're making bank.
Yeah.
That's why. And it's a shame. I mean,
It
I would
is.
never want to, when I got out of the Navy, we both had the opportunity to go get really good jobs in like the nuclear power industry and something, but I didn't want to be part of that world.
Me neither.
And neither one, and both of us chose not to. And we could have lived large and made really good money and had a great job and a 20-year and out retirement. But I just didn't want to be part of that bureaucracy and part of that whole game. And I know you feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully, we'll see what happens. And but hopefully, it's all going to turn out for the best. And I like the idea of them floating their $5,000 checks to everybody for their
Yeah,
for
you
the
just told me about that
savings.
today.
I just heard that. I don't think it's ever going to happen, and
Yeah.
that certainly shouldn't happen. I don't think it should. It
I
should
think it would
be-
happen if there was a second election coming up, because that would really make people happy. But there's no motivation behind a second election.
And what I'm
Or
talking
is
about is well, in order, I'm not sure what amendment, a 23rd amendment or something that says the president can only have 2 terms, but they're floating the idea of
A new amendment?
some way or some way around where Trump may be able to do that again.
Well, why don't they just elect Melania? Wait, she's not.
She's not a citizen,
She's
or
an
she's not
illegal.
more than the
She's a
United
legal
States.
immigrant.
She's a legal immigrant, and I have a thing against immigrants.
Me neither.
I mean, our grandpa was an immigrant.
Heck yeah, he was. Came over on the boat.
Yeah, he did. But no, it's just gonna be fun, and I think we're living in really big historical times, and it's just a good, fun time to be alive if you like this stuff. And I'm just glad the whole woke ideology is just getting destroyed, and the transgender and the men and women's sports, and Trump is really picking his battles well because all these things he's fighting have like huge approval ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's good that a man can go into your daughter's locker room? No.
I think it's ridiculous.
That's like 65% for. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go there. Bam, home run. Let's get rid of corruption. Let's not pay for transgender operas in Colombia $5 million. Bam, home run. And we just throw these out there. People don't have the Democrats defending them. Just sounds so incredibly stupid.
How many millions are they talking about that they've slashed so far, the spending?
I don't really know, but if you go to
I thought it was-
doge.gov, it's amazing. You can sit there and just watch them just boom, 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 boom. Just post after post. 6.5 million here, 7.8, $80 million to this NGO. All these.
So are they going to cut this from the next federal budget?
Oh, they have to.
Or are they going to use it for something else? I mean, you mentioned one thing they wanted to use it is just send it back to the taxpayers.
Which they should not do. They should just pay down the debt with it. I mean, I'd love to get the $5,000 check. I could use the money.
But we usually don't pay down our debt. It usually just goes up.
Well,
so that's my question. Where is this money going to be funneled?
It usually doesn't. I don't know. It's never happened before.
Yeah. I mean, I don't expect you to have an answer.
No, I don't know.
Where is it going?
Well, hopefully it just won't get spent, and it'll lower the amount of that we have. We're $2 trillion a year over budget. We owe $37 trillion. The interest, like I said earlier, is more than the defense budget, which is incredible. And I don't know. It's just exciting to see this just all.
It's crazy when you look at the amount of taxes this country pays and then how much of that goes to our military. It's just insane.
It's like $1 trillion now, 900 billion. Well, they're going to the Pentagon next. And Pete Hegseth, the new defense secretary, says he's welcoming these. Every other defense secretary, imagine going to Donald Rumsfeld or Dick Cheney and saying, we're going to the Pentagon and look at their expenditures. When they were on the take and owned big parts of Raytheon and Blackwater,
would have been knocking on their door.
They would have just put a bullet in his head and been done with it.
That's one of my biggest concerns.
Oh, they're going to try to kill Trump again. That's
or Kennedy or yeah.
But I don't know, man. Sometimes I think it's divine intervention. But we'll see.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun. Well, this wasn't our normal hour of peace and love and vibrational healing.
I don't know. Sometimes it's good to just.
No, it was a good conversation.
Good talk.
I'm bringing you back up to speed on what's going on.
Yeah,
since you've been out of the country.
Yeah, can I bring something up that's okay? So like, you're not supposed to talk when you have conversations with people. You're not supposed to talk about politics or religion, right?
I don't bring it up. I don't bring it up, but I hope someone else does. I really do. I always hope.
I know you do. And we do have a lot of differences in our views on politics, but we also have a lot of similarities. We're all we've both been in the military. I know we do. We've both been in the military, but we both want world peace. We both want a government system that's not corrupt.
And is accountable to the people.
And is accountable to the people and not screwing us over and poisoning us and making the healthcare nasty and the education ridiculous. All of that. But I want to touch on something that's really been like something you said. I don't know how deep in your heart this was, but you mentioned somebody said something about, I don't even remember the context, but something about 1,000 different deities. And you said something about 999 false gods, and there's one true God.
Okay.
Can you explain that?
Well, if you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you only think of one God.
Okay.
And that's the only answer to that question. I've been watching Vikings,
Yeah.
and they talk about all the Norse gods and Odin and Freya and all these other gods.
Mm-hmm.
I believe those are all pagan gods.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe in Jesus Christ
Mm-hmm.
as your Lord and Savior, you cannot have any. Well, the number one commandment is not to have any other gods before him,
Before Jesus?
before
Jesus wasn't even born when the commandments came.
not before Jesus, before God. Not there.
Well, you're
can
confusing me because you're saying Jesus. You're using Jesus as God.
No. Well, I believe they're one and the same once the New Testament hits. But in Exodus, Genesis or Exodus, whenever Moses was, I think Exodus, when the Ten Commandments came down, wasn't that I'm not a biblical scholar,
I know.
but isn't that the case? Isn't that the first commandment? Thou shalt not have no other gods before me.
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I take the Bible very literal.
Yeah.
I know you
I see
don't.
that. No. Did you do any research on the Council of Nicene?
I did.
What did you find?
I didn't spend a lot of time, but probably half an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and it was around the 12 or 1300s, and that basically they were some biblical scholars, priests, clerics that basically got together all the general knowledge of what was going on and they put together a view of the Bible. That's basically what I know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your argument was that those people had control over what went in today's Bible, right? And
Well,
it
I
was
believe.
shaped by those mortals.
Yeah, and it was. I believe this meeting came together because there was a division of powers, almost like I don't know if they're. And I looked this stuff up in my 20s, so it's been 40 years since I've looked at it.
I looked it up a month ago.
Yeah, so it wasn't just biblical scholars and stuff. There was like, I don't know if it was the Romans or whoever they were at this time that had a bunch of power, and like pagans or some other, I don't know what they were called, that had a bunch of power, and they were trying to unite these two forces.
Okay,
And
fair enough.
The,
So they made a deal.
They made a deal, yeah, to say what was going on and what's going on. But that's a totally different thing that I wanted to discuss here.
And I've thought about this
Yeah.
since you talked. And one thing I came up with, not came up with, one thing that came to me was that, okay, this council, and it was like Nicene, and
yeah,
IACENE or something
I don't
like
remember
that.
how to pronounce it.
But I basically looked at it, and it was very cursory. I just learned about it. I didn't deep dive it or anything.
Yeah.
But hey, if these guys got together and are going to put together the Bible or a version of the Bible that people are going to basically take as God's word for the next 1,000 years, because of where we are right now, right? We're at 800, 900 years later from when this happened. Then there must have been a deity guiding that.
Why?
Because that's what I believe.
Okay.
So if you believe the Bible is the word of God, which I do, then you also have to believe that that council was guided by God to put his word in that form.
Okay. So there's many versions of the Bible. I think you read King James.
I read like the Bible for dummies.
Okay.
And I'm pretty new at this too, so
I know, and it's just got me curious for multiple reasons. So, but we'll get back to the Jesus thing and the God thing in a minute, since we brought up the Bible. So different Christian faiths have different interpretations of the Bible.
Okay.
So you stumbled into one that has great music because you love the vibe, and you believe that version.
No.
Of
what version?
You told me the King James version.
No, you said the King James version.
I thought that's the one you told me that you were into.
I said the Bible for dummies. I don't know. I don't even know what version it is.
Well, I thought at one time you told me you were going to the bookstore to buy the King James version of the Bible.
I may have said that in error because I really have no idea what version I have. All I know is I have a version of the Bible that I bought at the bookstore, which is cool with the little zipper on it. And then someone gave me a better one. Then the next day that had like a dollar store dollar price tag on it, which I like a lot more. But it's paperback, but it has interpretations and kind of the more English notations and I just like the vibe of it.
Okay.
And so I don't know what version that is.
Okay.
But I don't think it matters as far as what the Bible says is and will not allow you to get into the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear.
Well, if it's so clear, why does each Christian religion have a different spin on it?
I don't know. I'm not a theologian, but what are you talking about? Be more specific.
Well, like some Christian churches I've been to say that you have to accept Jesus as your one and only Savior to get into heaven. Other ones say,
I would agree with that.
And other ones don't say that. Other ones say that if you live by Jesus's word, live by the things that he taught and that he said.
So just by being a good person,
and others,
you're good.
And others say that.
But that's not what the Bible says.
Well, okay, here's an example. Like you said, your minister said that you're living in sin because you live with your girlfriend and you're not married.
And I said I'm grandfathered in on that one.
Yeah, she did, which I thought was a great answer. However, but I went to the Bible to look that up, and I found nowhere that it says that.
I have not went to the Bible and looked that up and found nowhere that it says that. However, I'll find out for you.
Okay.
Where it says that from him on Sunday.
Okay.
I will actually ask him that.
What I, Google
because
searched
I think
on
it says something about being married, right? Don't have sex before you get married. I'm not saying I have sex with my girlfriend, but if I was,
I'll say you are. Because anyway. Not that I've watched. So
no, you have never stopped that. I don't want to leave that hanging. I was not going to leave that hanging. No watching involved.
Never. No, I feel that a lot of times it's interpreted by movements or certain people, and if everybody has a different interpretation and no one's going back to, even if you went back and read the actual learned Aramaic and went back and read the actual words, I mean, if you think about how language changes, I mean, if I said, man,
for sure,
dude, man, you're sick, and that was recorded here, and 1,000 years later, someone says, oh, he must have had a fever. But no, sick is like
cool. It's that was
sick.
Sick concert. Good.
So words change, and in a relatively short amount of time, meanings of words change.
Okay.
And to take something that man, obviously, wrote down, put together, divided up and decided what's going in and what's going on, and changed from Aramaic to English to different versions. You can even look up different versions that have different words and different people interpret it, and each different religion interprets it. And then it's okay to believe what you want to believe. I mean, go for it. But what makes one right and another wrong?
I have no idea. But I don't really care.
And that's okay.
I just don't. Because I believe that if I take the Bible in its literal sense, and I mean, I'm a sinner in more ways than one. And
what does that mean?
That you just aren't doing the things that God says will get you into the kingdom of heaven.
Okay, so is there any direct words of God in the Bible?
I'm done with this third degree.
I'm just asking.
No, I would be happy to talk about this further. I don't really want to get into this now, especially since we're over and I'm hungry and I want to go home.
I don't think we're that far over because we started.
No, I get that.
But okay, so then I'll get to my point. Okay. One true God. Only the people believe in the one true God go to heaven. Everyone else goes to hell.
Okay.
So that tells me that God, the one, air quotes, true God, is somebody that doesn't necessarily unconditionally love his children, because he's okay to put them out in the world with in a lot of times no real instructions.
But there is
In a lot of
instructions.
confusion, not
Isn't-
everywhere, and
isn't
not.
there
What about
instructions?
before the Bible? What about what about the time between Jesus dying and when they wrote the Bible, and then Jesus,
Man, you're
and
way
then
over
them
my
writing
head.
the Bible,
I would.
and then the 1,000 years later when they changed the Bible, all those millions of people that lived during that time are in hell. Everybody that's indoctrinated as a child into another religion, or all the people around the world that were born into a different creation story than our white Christian one,
Would you
all
get,
those people are sinners and going to hell, and that's what God thinks about them?
man? Good
I,
point.
I,
Good point and point taken. I know you don't buy it, but
I think God's a good, loving God that loves us all, man.
I do
And I
too.
think he loves us unconditionally, and I don't
But
think
the
he's
Bible
sending
says what it
anybody to hell.
says, and
No,
if you're
no.
gonna live like this and accept him, Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior, you'll go to heaven if you repent your sins and live in that way. I'm not
Mhm.
saying, hey, I'm a hypocrite in this aspect. I'm not saying I do all that.
I know.
But let me ask you this. If I could get my pastor, Tom Lapley, on this podcast,
Mhm.
would you be open to that and to have this discussion?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, I'll work on it then.
I'd be open to.
All right, I'm going to work on that
Okay.
because the church I go to literally is tagged as the most dangerous church in America. When they said
Yeah.
shut down, no mass, he
Yeah.
said screw all you guys. I'm keeping my church open. There's not going to be mass. We're going to have people here. We're not going to mess around with this.
And I
We're
can
not going
respect that.
to. So can I,
Mhm.
and that's why I go there.
But I can't respect people that say that the one true God, which I think there is one true God. I think it has a lot of different names. This on my arm, this represents God. This is the Om symbol. It's a
Okay.
representation of God.
Okay,
Hindus believed that Om was the name of God.
and that's
And
great.
what I understand when I read the Bible is that Jesus was here to teach about God and the kingdom. I don't think he ever said that he was God. Anywhere in the Bible
No, I
does it
don't
say
think
that he was
No,
God.
no.
He referred to his father.
And maybe it's metaphorical. No, you're right. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Once again, I'm not a scholar on this, but
Mhm.
but maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. It doesn't. But to me, it doesn't really matter
Mhm.
because what it ended up with is that Jesus died, got resurrected, died for our sins.
What does that mean?
That He took away the sins that allowed you to repent for your past sins, fix your ways, accept Jesus Christ into your heart as your God, and go to heaven when you die.
What does it mean he took away your sins?
That he died to wash away, to allow you to have
sin?
that redemption. Man, you're
I'm just
cornering
trying
me.
to
No,
understand.
I don't really even understand.
Okay.
And once again, I don't really
Okay.
care.
And that's fine. And
And it's a good thought experiment.
uh-huh.
And I'm glad you're bringing this up because I will give it some thought.
Uh-huh.
But, I really try.
And I appreciate that about you. I love that you are delving into spirituality and delving into religion, and I think it's a good thing. I do.
No,
In fact, I would listen to a podcast today, and they were doing all these studies. I don't know who the podcast host was or the guest was, but this guy studied human like intentions and why we do things. And one of the studies came out that said people that go to church are 50% happier than people that don't. I mean,
I believe that.
that's huge.
Because in my the last 6 months or so while I've had this transformation happen in my life,
Mm-hmm.
my stress level's gone down, my anxiety level's gone down,
Beautiful.
my blood pressure's gone down. I mean, it just
Mm-hmm.
I don't really stress about anything anymore unless I have like some acute things.
Yeah.
Things that come up and oh, it's a stressful moment, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm right back to where I want to be, which is not in that state.
Yeah.
And my daughter had an unfortunate event recently in her life that I don't want to get into, and
Mm-hmm.
she was really having some problems and as far as dealing with it, and she's kind of agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of our responsibilities as Christians is to bring other people into that world, and so I've been talking to her gently, nudging her in that direction. Hey, pray for this. Pray for your peace of mind. Pray to feel better about this. Pray for God to take away your pain, and He will. And I believe that. And you know, it works different. Everyone's their own individual.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different for everybody. And my story is certainly unique and different than others. But I'm enjoying the journey.
Cool. That's the most important part of the journey. Really.
That's
so
all
important.
we have.
That's right.
That's really all we have is the journey of
Hell
where
yeah,
we're
we
going.
don't know the past, we don't know the future. We have the right now. It's the journey. It's where we're at.
But one thing's for sure.
Enjoy it.
If you haven't, I mean, there is one day when it's going to be too late and you're not going to be able to make the choices that are good for you, which will get you to heaven. And if you've not made those choices, then you have to.
I think we'll talk about this in another podcast.
Yeah, let's do it. And if you would be open to getting Tom on this,
yeah.
I don't know if he would do it because he's got a podcast with literally tens of thousands of listeners on Rebel.
Won't.
So he's kind of big, but I go to his church. He don't know me yet, but I was gonna wait in line last week.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago. I couldn't go last week because I had a gig up in Bradenton at noon. But I really just want to. I'll work on that.
Yeah. All right. I don't mind. It's interesting though. I do like when we have guests, I'm always cordial. I don't like call them out or anything like that. Speak. You're here as our guest. Share your thoughts.
I don't either. I hold back.
Yeah, but so if this is a podcast that we're going to set up, it's going to be with knowing that I'm not going to let him spew the Bible in my face and expect me not to question it.
No. I think he would be fine with that. And I'm not going to speak for him. I will work on it and we'll try to make that happen. And I think it would really be a cool podcast. And we could actually go to his studio.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And if you want to listen to it, it's Tom Lapley podcast.
Okay.
And it's on Rumble mainly because I think he's banned off every other platform. Which is my kind of guy. I love those rebels. I just do. I just love them.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's be done.
All right. Well, I enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, it was better than I expected. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done just open.
No, but there's so much stuff going on. It was just
there is, and
we
so
could
much
do
more
this like once a month and just do a recap of who we talked to the last 3 or 4 weeks. We can fill up a week and fill up a slot.
I really want to do one just recapping all the things. I listen to our podcast over and over, and I just find myself learning more things from our guests every time I listen to one of our podcasts. And we've got good information out there. It's amazing. There's
who I want
good information.
I want to check back in with Michelle Bowles.
Okay.
Because at the time we talked to her, she was kind of on the same spiritual transformation that I'm going through. At least she said she was.
Yeah.
And I emailed her and everything. She kind of blew me off.
Okay.
So she kind of ghosted me on it. But so Michelle, if you're listening, email me back. But hopefully, and I emailed her and I said, hey, I know we're on the same spiritual journey right now, blah, blah, blah. I'll pray for you. Why don't you pray for me? We'll do this together. And I haven't broke my word.
Yeah.
I've been praying for her all the time.
Nice.
I'm not saying every day, but whenever I think of it, which is probably at least every other day. So I'd like to reconnect with her. But I really like that idea that we should take once a month or so, after every 3 or 4,
it's done.
Take an hour.
We do it.
Talk about what we got out of those people, rehashing that, and maybe since there's so much fun shit going on in politics, let's just go back there too and see what we think about some stuff. Yeah,
we can do like a split show where we talk a little about current events, politics, and a little bit about some of the guests we've had. Amazing stuff that's out there. I do want to do a shout out to some of our regular listeners. Adam, what's up, bro? Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to all our podcasts. Carlos Gambino.
Who?
Carlos Gambino.
It's like that's a mob boss.
That's what you told me. I met him at DTK, and I saw him a couple months.
No, I was there.
You were there. You met. He was on our podcast. He was on our podcast that we did at DTK.
I remember.
And you're like, Man, he's messing with you. That's not his real name.
I-
No, dude, it's his
I
real
thought
name.
it was.
I've talked to him many times there, and when I bumped into him again, he's like, "Yeah, I've been listening to your podcast." So thank you to our regular listeners.
And
Thank you to our supporters.
And we met that nutritionist there. I
We
wanted
love
to
you
get
all.
on the.
Yeah, she's just been busy.
Yeah.
Going to school and doing her thing.
All right, man. Well, it's been a good fun hour and a half.
Peace. So if you just listen to this podcast and you appreciate the content and the work that we're doing, we would love your support. Look in the comment section of this episode. Subscribe, rate us, comment. This gets our podcast in front of other listeners. And if you noticed, we don't have advertisers. For the cost of a cup of coffee, you can help keep it this way. Become a supporter right now. We'd appreciate it. I'm Jim the Yogi.
I'm Rick the BeachMan.
Peace.